Blazers hold the 7th and 14th overall selections in the draft. Well, also 34 and 40, which will be Thursday.
During our show, actually.
Yeah.
Because the draft's at 1 o'clock on Thursday.
Great timing. But it's not just the draft. There are a lot of tradable assets, and we saw the first domino really to fall was last week in the Alex Caruso, Josh Giddey swap between Oklahoma City and Chicago, with Caruso and the Thunder just absolutely fleecing Chicago.
Yeah, I was listening
It's still the dumbest trade.
I was listening to Bobby Marks on with Zach Lowe, I think.
The Low Post.
And Bobby goes, yeah, when the trade happened, I got texts immediately from two different executives that asked me to chase down what picks were involved.
Yeah, right?
So this isn't like a Twitter's overreacting thing. Like,
no.
General managers were like, hey, dog, what picks did Oklahoma City give up? We're trying to get a valuation on everything right now.
And now everybody's just knocking on the door of Chicago like, hey, what can we get? Except for nothing for Zach LaVine.
Sam Amick, I think it was, today was basically saying that, Sacramento's open to taking Zach LaVine, but they're going to have to put something else in the package for them to take Zach LaVine. Like, he has a negative, for all the people I hear, Jeremy Grant's got a negative value contract. No, he does not. No, he does not. No, he does not. Zach LaVine has a negative value contract. You have to attach something to trade him.
Yeah.
That's where they're at. And as far as the Bulls go, I've heard Patrick Williams is a prime candidate to be signed and traded to the Charlotte Hornets. So there's plenty of stuff out there with the Bulls maybe hitting reset, finding a way to either trade or buy out on Lonzo Ball.
I think that first trade was the indicator.
Well, I mean, it's just like, why would you not get the number 12 pick from OKC in this draft?
I don't know.
At bare minimum, I don't understand it.
I don't know.
But I've heard some people say, well, does that set the market? It's like, no, doesn't set the market. And they're like, well, Rudy Gobert trade. I'm like, yeah. And guess what happened? Nobody made deals.
But the Blazers have been linked to and rumored to be willing and able to move pieces around. They want to collect more assets. They want to collect some players as well. And what is the likelihood that we see, whether it's Malcolm Brogdon, Jeremy Grant, or hell, even Anthony Simons dealt leading up to or on Wednesday afternoon?
Yeah, he would be the one I would put least. I'd put Malk. Yeah. I'd put Malk number 1, Time Lord 2, pretty big gap, Jeremy Grant, pretty big gap, Anthony Simons.
And I think, and we've briefly discussed this, but I think it bears repeating again, the Ant and or Grant movement would eventually happen during free agency. After the dust settles from the draft, and after teams whiff or round out their rosters with free agency, that's when you start seeing those types of names being moved.
Yeah.
And that makes the most sense. But the interesting part is that, Wednesday, Malcolm Brogdon, his name could pop up in a trade, but that's also kind of that's a dicey one too, though, because, all right, what assets can you collect moving forward with Malcolm Brogdon? How does that trade kind of manifest itself leading up to Wednesday, where you look at, all right, is somebody going to just hit the panic button and say, we don't have a point guard right now? Or are you going to wait through the draft and maybe leading up to free agency before something like that happens?
Yeah, I think if you're looking at Malcolm and Time Lord, I think those are guys that if you saw them moved, I think those are guys that you would see moved into salary cap spots or for contracts that are either expiring or non-guaranteed. But the thing that you're looking at is you're not doing an unbalanced trade where you're sending out one and getting multiple players back. I don't think that's what the goal would be with them because of the roster spots.
They can't.
Exactly.
You have 4 draft picks that are going to be coming in, and look, having the remix, there will be guys that in that second round they're going to be drafted for the remix, right? Duh.
Or you have your undrafted free agents that you sign directly to the remix.
You go there. But you right now, what are they at? 13 of your 15?
Well, technically, yes, but you've got some non-guaranteeds. I
With
think
2 first-rounders coming in.
Yeah, and then 2 second-rounders, and then, yes, exactly. So it gets a little weird. And so they have to make moves. It's just a matter of which moves they make. And there was everybody freaking out about the salary cap structure and the apron and luxury tax. Like, you don't worry about that until the deadline.
You know what? Fans just need to stop worrying about it, period. Like, it's not a fan issue.
Armchair
it is
GMing is a weird thing.
If your ownership is willing to pay the freight, you're going to be second apron if you feel you can win a title, because the repeat offender for the second apron is you lose a draft pick. And so teams are going to pull out of that. It's not something that fans should really be worried about, because that means your owner is spending money.
Well, and also, how many of those contracts down towards the end of the roster are not guaranteed?
So Jabari's is not guaranteed. Tumani's is not guaranteed.
That needs to be guaranteed.
Well, I don't. Yeah,
yeah.
I like
can't see them
Tumani Kamara. I love
those
Tumani
guys.
Kamara.
If they had to make a decision, we saw them last year make the decision between Trendon Watford and Jabari Walker. Remember, everybody freaked out. Oh my God, they got rid of Trendon. And it was just like this. Like, guys, I like Trendon, great dude, but we're kind of losing our collective S over them letting go of the 14th guy on the roster.
Right.
Look, I know everyone that plays in Portland that actually wears the jersey and plays on the floor is a Portland legend, but let's chill a little bit.
Well, I liked him too, but it seemed like every time he had the ball, he looked like a deer on ice skates.
I mean, Trendon is fine with the ball in his hands. It was the problem with, shooting the 3 ball and then playing the 5 defensively. He was just he's a luxury player where if you have other things around him, it makes sense. But they have the ability, if they need to not to waive Jabari. I don't think that they would, but if it came to it, they have that option. Delano Banton's contract is not guaranteed until
they have a club option on him this year.
Not only that, it's not. It's only $200,000 is guaranteed between up until January 10th or 12th. So they could keep him on the roster until then, and then whoop. I mean, that's less than they guaranteed Mo Brown last year. It's an incredible value slot. So I don't think that they're looking at how or that being a problem. The interesting thing is I believe Jabari's guarantee date, because he signed his contract later into Summer League in his rookie year. I believe his guarantee date's like July 12th or 15th. So
July 13th.
13th, yeah. So it's further out. So that gives them some wiggle room on making decisions on stuff.
He's extension eligible on the 13th, and then on July 20th is where his contract becomes guaranteed.
Okay, so there you go.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. There's
he and Tumani Kamara both on July 20th.
Yeah. So there's some wiggle room for them to get some stuff done. So this is what I was talking about when you want to talk. This is getting super CBA heavy. Remember we had Bobby Marks on talking about what the Blazers can do to stay away from being in the luxury tax on July 1st or June 30th when the calendar rolls over into the new league year and into the new CBA. You don't guarantee the contracts for those guys. You don't sign your rookies to their rookie deals yet. And that gives you the necessary wiggle room to stay under the luxury tax so you're not operating as an over-the-tax team in the new league
heading
year,
into 2024.
which doesn't put any additional stressors on you on how much money you can send out, how much money you can take back. So that's like everybody, which is why I've said from the jump, chill on the money thing until things are set in stone.
I also will throw this one out there, and this is not to give the front office a parachute to be inactive this offseason, but I think if on Wednesday the draft opens up and no trades have happened, I think there will be a little bit of panic. What are they doing? Why aren't they moving guys? I would wait till free agency too, okay? Now, if we get to August and September and nothing has happened, then you're going, okay, what is the direction?
Yeah.
Where are they going?
If they haven't signed guys or something like that,
what do they want to do?
Yeah.
If you still have Malcolm Brogdon on the and look, Malcolm Brogdon, we knew what it was when he was brought in here, which was, hey, he was going to showcase himself. They were going to try to move him. That didn't manifest itself, and they held on to him. Now he has a $22.5 million deal on an expiring contract heading into this year. If you can't move that, then we have a problem, right? Because that is attractive to some team somewhere that's wanting to contend for either a championship or a high seed in the playoffs. That is attractive. $22.5 million now in the NBA. That's a smoking deal for a guy who can give you a lot of really good minutes.
I mean, he's a sixth man of the year. He's a heady vet. He knocks down threes, premium shooting, like all those things. He's entirely fine as a defender. Like, a team like, it's funny. It's like the Houston Rockets, if they take Reed Shepherd's kind of in the same model as like a Fred VanVleet or a Malcolm Brogdon. Malk's not a huge rim pressure guy. He'll take a guy off the bounce and hit a pull-up. He'll take a guy off the bounce and hit a step-back three, but he's not a huge rim pressure guy, same way that Reed and Fred VanVleet are. Also, Malcolm played for Ime. Like, it's pretty easy to start drawing connections. And look, I know numerous teams have checked in on Jeremy, have checked in on Malk, have checked in on Time Lord, have checked in on Ant. That's what happens this time of year. You're checking to see what valuations come up because within your own team, you don't know, well, if X then Y, if Y then Z, like you just don't know what's going to fall on your plate leading into the NBA draft.
Yeah.
And you have to have worked out loosely some frameworks of things if something were to happen. And that's how these deals come together, is you have had discussions already leading up to this around, even if it's, hey, we're interested in so-and-so if you decide to make a move. Keep us in mind.
Yeah.
Like, that's legitimately how these calls go. That's why you hear, like, from Ian Begley that the Dallas Mavericks are checking in on Jeremy Grant, and you've heard that for a year now. Because what's the position of need for that team? It's a guy that can defend and a guy that can knock down threes.
I think a lot of teams are looking for that too.
Yeah, especially if you look at it. I did this at the end of the year. If you look at the number of guys that are 6'8" or taller that hit, I think above 38% on volume from three. I think there was 12 total guys in the entire NBA.
Damn.
Volume shooting with size is one of the rarest commodities in the entire NBA. And guess what the NBA title winner had? Is that volume shooting with size?
I would say so.
Jaylen Brown, Jason
driving
Tatum,
kick, driving kick, driving kick,
Al
driving
Horford,
kick, driving
Kristaps
kick, driving kick,
Porzingis,
driving
like-
kick, driving kick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even look at the Nuggets. Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon, when he's knocking them down. Like, volume, three-point shooting with size is an increasingly valuable commodity.
If you look at it too, oh, by the way, Jeremy Grant is the 45th highest paid player in the NBA right now. Somebody's going to want one. I mean, $29 million, $30 million, we're going to round up.
Yeah.
$30 million in a very weird way is a bargain in the NBA right now, especially when you look at the guys who are slotted ahead of him, right? Chris Paul.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Paul's making $30 million. He's slotted ahead of him. Desmond Bane is at $34 million.
Bane's a hell of a player.
He is a hell of a player.
Mm-hmm.
But you're looking at, though, it's not a bargain at $34 million.
It's market rate.
And so market rate at $30 million, you're going to be looking at a team going, yeah, we'll go into the second apron this year for a guy like Jeremy Grant. Yeah. That is something we're willing to do.
If you're a title contending or upper echelon team and you have a hole at that position, Jeremy Grant should probably be number one on your board.
Brandon Ingram makes $36 million. How about that?
That's a deal. That's a deal I wouldn't want.
Michael Porter Jr. makes $36 million.
That's another deal that I would not want.
Ben Simmons makes 40.
Another deal that I would not want.
Zach LaVine makes 43. So does Trae Young.
Yikes, dog.
Damn.
It's tough.
Stinky.
Bradley Beal makes 50.
That is a bad deal. Like when people talk about what's a bad deal? Zach LaVine, Brad Beal, those are bad deals.
All right. So it'll be attractive for somebody somewhere at some time. They need to be active, though, this offseason. I think that's what people are looking for, though, is the activity in overhauling this roster, because we know what the direction is. The direction is the youth movement towards the future. How many pieces? Having veterans is important, though. And just stripping your roster completely of any vet is a bad life choice. But if you do it with guys like Time Lord, Malcolm Brogdon, if the deal is right for an Ant or a Jeremy Grant deal, then that's when you start having those conversations about it. And we'll see. I mean, the conversations are really going to start in earnest in the next couple of days and leading up to Wednesday when we get the draft finally going.
Gonna be fun.
It's going to be this is the most exciting time for being a Blazer fan right now.
You're probably not wrong.
Because when games start, it's not that great.
So much hope and joy. And it's funny is we'll get a couple weeks into the offseason, like, if things break right, I can see this team making the playoffs, and I'll just sit here. No, they won't.
But maybe.
You know what's going to happen. I told you this last year, and you're like, nah. And then that swell of people did it. Well, if it's just like, I could see him playing team. And I'm like, oh, for the love of God.
Let's not squint at it. Let's just live in reality for a little bit, huh?
It's okay.
Which is playoffs or bust.
Everyone, oh God. Everyone knows the plan. Everyone knows the plan.